Alright, so this is gonna be part 4 to what if female deku was Muzan. Now, if I remember correctly, we left off after the USJ incident, and now I'll be covering the events up to the sports festival. So, we'll open up with Mew still helping Yoriichi recover from his minor injuries, as it's not that much work, but she is still doing quite a lot to get them patched up in time. As in the time that when Yoriichi has fully healed, which takes about a couple weeks, they both begin training as they are training to win the sports festival. Mew has been practicing with her abilities as she is hold on, give me a minute. Sorry about that, as she is working on her reflexes right now, because she knows that Momo is going to try something during the sports festival, as she would begin to enhance her reflexes and enhance her regenerative capabilities. As her regenerative abilities get to the same point as Akaza's. In case for those of you who don't know, Akaza is Upper Moon 3. So her regenerative abilities is like his, is instant. As she tells Yoriichi about this, that her regenerative abilities have gotten twice as powerful. Now, she is still training. She still trains and tutors Mina and Kirishima from time to time. It's just not as often as they used to. As Mew and Yoriichi will have gone out on a couple of dates in that time as well. As the sports festival would begin with the person selected to represent the first years being Yoriichi, as Yoriichi would walk up to the pedestal and give a speech on how that he hopes that the people watching here in the stadium and at home will enjoy the sports festival, and that everyone will do their best to impress everyone as well as they have impressed him. As everybody in the stadium would begin to cheer, except for 1B, because, not 1B, except for Monoma, because Monoma's salty, as we all know. As Monoma would try to copy Miyu's abilities, but he couldn't. But he thinks he did copy her abilities, but he can't because it's not a quirk, remember? As they would then get to the race area, as Mew would prepare to run, with Yoriichi doing the same, as sorry about that. as President Mike would finish his countdown, he would then get Yoriichi and Miyu would see that Todoroki began to freeze the ground, with the both of them jumping up in the air to avoid it, as they would then begin to run. With Miyu and Yoriichi being neck and neck in first place as they pass both Bakugo and Todoroki. Now Bakugo is currently trying to get Miyu for himself, because he thinks that if he has a kid with Miyu, then that child will become the ultimate hero. As he thinks that if he wins first place, it will impress Miyu to where she'll go out with him, which we all know that won't work, because Miyu is, if you remember, dating Yoriichi. And Shoto sees Mew and Yoriichi as two obstacles in his way of becoming a hero. As they would begin to catch up to try and beat Mew and Yoriichi, with them reaching the 0 pointers, with Mew shifting into her combat form and basically slicing the one in front of her to shreds, with Yoriichi using his Breath of the Sun form's 13th form, as it would just slice the 0 pointer to ribbons. As Todoroki would do the thing he did in canon by freezing the 0 pointers, and everyone else beats the robots as they did in canon. With them getting to the large pit area, with both Yoriichi and Miyu basically jumping from rock platform to rock platform, with everyone else going through them. And Bakugo would try to blow up some of the platforms to knock Yoriichi off balance, and Momo would do the same with Miyu by shooting cannons, with Yoriichi and Miyu making it across there with great difficulty. But they would, sorry for the voice crack, they would make it. As we then get to the minefield, with Yoriichi not dashing over them, but dancing around the mines, with Miyu just charging right through them in her combat form, as the mines would blow off her legs, but she would instantly regenerate them, as she would then begin to run again. As she ends up making it, as both her and Yoriichi end up making it, with them both winning first place. As Todoroki would come in second, and Bakugo would come in third, and everyone else would get their placements that they did in canon. And then we'll move on to the Cavalry Battle. With both Miyu and Yoriichi being on the same team, with them deciding who will be the rider and who will be the horse. As Yoriichi said that Miyu should be the rider, as Miyu would say to Yoriichi, whisper to Yoriichi, "You don't have something perverted planned now, do you?" As Yoriichi would say, "No, I do not," in like a laughing tone. With Bakugo hearing Yoriichi and Miyu laughing, as he would get pissed as smoke would begin to come out from his palms. As as once they would get their team together. So Hatsumi has joined Miyu's team as well, and I'll say I forgot his name, but you know the guy who can move between shadows from Class 1B? Yeah, they have that guy on their team. So it's a combination of Class 1A, Class 1B, and the support course. As everybody would be surprised that somebody from Class 1B and the support course would team up with two people from Class 1A. As Mew would then get up onto above Yoriichi, Mei, and I'm gonna call him the Shadow Guy. Yeah, I'm gonna call him. I don't know his actual name, so I'm gonna call him Shadow Guy. It's sort of like how I describe his quirk. So that's who's on their team, as they would then begin with me immediately shifting into our combat form, and Yoriichi using the see-through world to increase their chances of winning this, as this does increase their chances with Mew taking a lot of headbands and keeping the 1 million point headband on them. With them winning first place in the Cavalry Battle, as all the teams that were canon, all the teams that, as Mia's team made it, and so did the other teams that made it in canon. So, the first match is Mew versus Shinso. As Mew would know about Shinso's telepathy quirk, thanks to Ojiro, as Shinso would start to trash talk her and her classmates, as once he gets onto Yoriichi, starts trash talking him, that's when she loses it, as she immediately shifts into her combat form and begins to grab Shinso by the throat, lifting him up and basically choking him, as she would bring him in closer and say to him, talk about Yoriichi like that again, and I will cut off your arms and legs. As she then basically throws Shinso into the wall, which leaves an indent in it, as Midnight would state that Shinso is out of bounds. Mew Yaoyorozu wins. Now Mr. and Mrs. Yaoyorozu are watching this, and they are infuriated that their demon daughter managed to make it to the tournament section of the sports festival. As the next fight, the fights go as in canon except for Tokoyami and Momo. Since Momo would be fixated on beating Mew, she would end up winning her fight against Tokoyami, as we would then get to the fight between Mew and Shoto, with Shoto not hesitating. Actually, no, before they get into their fight, Shoto says to Mew that he plans on using his full power against her, as Mew is okay with this, with him using his full power, as he states that it wouldn't be fun if he didn't, as Todoroki would begin to send a wave of ice towards her, which Miyu shifts into her combat form and slices into cubes. Now, the mouths, nobody can see the mouth since she's currently wearing the uniform, but the mouths will be visible in the final match. As Todoroki, seeing this fail, then starts to use his fire against her, which Mia, knowing that this could really mess her up, she begins to avoid it and starts dancing around the flames, as she basically has memorized Yorichi's sun breathing styles, as she would pick up one of the flames on her boned tendril, as she would fling it towards Shoto, which he would avoid, which Miyu knew he would do, as she then goes in, as she prepares a full-blown gut punch to Shoto, which almost sends him out of the ring, but he then uses his ice to prevent him from going out of the ring, as Miyu would see this, as her bone tendrils would slice the ice to pieces, as Shoto would fly out of the ring, with Miyu being declared the victor. And then we'll then get on to Yorichi versus Monoma, as Monoma would begin to fight Yorichi, and when he tried to use Miyu's abilities, he found that he couldn't use them because, again, they were not a quirk. As Monoma realizes he's in deep shiz right now, as he would begin to try and formulate their plan, and tries to copy Yorichi's quirk, which doesn't work, as Yorichi would basically knee Monoma in the stomach, as Monoma would skid out of the ring, with Yorichi being declared the victor. And then we'll get to Bakugo versus Momo. Now, with Momo's fiery determination to beat... Actually, no. Momo will fight Miyu, and then Bakugo would fight Yorichi. So, we then get to Miyu's fight with Momo, with Midnight stating, "Let the match begin," as Momo would immediately create a sword, as she would go to attack Miyu with it, as Miyu would dodge it, but she notices that there's like a little, there's a cut along her along the jumpsuit of the gym uniform. It goes diagonal from the shoulder down to the right shoulder down to the left hip. As there would be a little bit of blood drawn, as she would notice that she's actually taking a little bit longer to regenerate, as she would realize this is no normal sword, this is a Nichiren sword that she's created. So if she gets hit by that multiple times, she's basically screwed, as she would realize that it's futile to do this fight in her normal state, so she shifts into her combat form, with her basically going head-on assault on Momo, as this fight would go on for about 2 hours, as Momo would be getting exhausted, as Mew would show signs of exhaustion, as she would pretend to she would miss on purpose just so Momo would drop her guard, as Momo would bring the sword down, which would basically sort of like get into the back of Mew's head, like back at the back of the neck, as Momo thought that was enough to cut her head off, but Mew ends up grabbing the blade and states, You may have found my weakness, dear sister, but you forgot one thing. The sword is structurally weak," as she would then snap the blade, as she would then roundhouse kick Momo out of the ring, with Mew being declared the victor, as she would pull out the broken blade from her neck, tossing it to the ground of the arena, with Momo being infuriated that she lost to her sister again. As we then get to the fight with Yoriichi and Bakugo, as Bakugo then declares during his fight with Yoriichi that once I beat you, your girl is mine, as he's talking about Mew, as Yoriichi would say, "Do you really think that she would go out with a cocky, arrogant bastard like you?" As Bakugo would be pissed by this, as he would then let off more and more explosions to the point where his hands start hurting, as Yoriichi would knock Bakugo out of the ring, with Yoriichi being declared the victor. As we then get to the final fight between Mew and Yoriichi, as President Mike states that this is going to be an amazing fight between UA's two top students, as Mew would be in her normal form, as she would ask Yoriichi, "So how would you like to do this? Go all out immediately, or gradually build up?" As Yoriichi would say, "I think gradually building up would be alright." With them both beginning after around, I'd say about 25% of their full power. As Mew and Yoriichi would dash towards each other, with Yoriichi using the see-through world, as he would notice that Mew has no exploitable weak points right now, so he's going to have to wait, as he would then turn off his usage of the see-through world, as he would begin to fight her normally, just dodging her attacks and getting any hits in himself when he gets a chance, with Mew also getting in some of her own hits, with them gradually building up from 25 to 30 to 35 to 40 to 45, then to 50, with Yoriichi using his full access of the see-through world at 50, and Mew using her combat form at 50. As while her clothing is getting worn down from the via strikes and attacks, the mouths are becoming more and more visible, with people noticing them, as they would begin to wonder, is this a part of her quirk? Is this truly what her quirk is? As she would use the bone tendrils to block the attacks whenever they were coming at her. As Yoriichi, as they would slowly build up, to where they are both at 100% of their full power, as this fight took about 3 hours. As with both of them unleashing their final attacks, with Yoriichi using his 13th form, and Miyu using her bone tendrils and her physical strength in tandem, as they would both end up charging at each other. As Cementos and Midnight would try to put up a barrier to stop them from striking, but they're faster than the barriers could be put up, as a massive explosion would happen, followed by a shockwave, as in the remains, in the rubble, they see Yoriichi and Miyu, and they both smoke, as smoke is coming off of them, as both Yoriichi and Miyu would collapse due to exhaustion, as Midnight would announce that the battle is a tie, and that Mew and Yoriichi have both won first place in the sports festival. As they're then handed their awards, All Might states that Mew and Yoriichi had done brilliant in the sports festival, and that their final battle against each other was amazing to watch. As All Might would get to Momo, as they would say to Momo that her fighting skills were impressive, but she was way too aggressive, and that she should work on that. As a lot of the students who were watching this could tell that Momo was going in for the kill. Like she was actively trying to kill her. As All Might would then tell Bakugo that his quirk is powerful, but he would need to work on his anger issues, as the sports festival would conclude, as Yoriichi, who would be walking Miyu home, as she would say that their fight at the sports festival was pretty intense, and that they should probably try fighting at that level again sometime. As Yoriichi says, yeah, maybe sometime in the future. As she says, yeah, as she would kiss Yoriichi and say and head back into her house, her apartment, I mean. And that is why I'm going to leave it off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this. Now, for those of you who didn't see my announcement, I now have a Discord, so I'll put a link to... Now, the link to the Discord is in the discussion section, so if you want to join that, you can, and I'll see you guys next time.